In the words of Lupe Fiasco, the show goes on, as does Chris and company. And we are going to continue with our theme this week. I didn't even mean for this to be a thing, but last week we had Steven as on. This week we're going to have Jace Howard on to discuss all things Michigan basketball, his past, his present, his future. Really excited to talk to him. I've been following him and I've known him for a minute. Really, really nice guy. I think that you guys are going to enjoy this interview. Can't wait to talk some Michigan basketball. I got to say, the first place in the Big Ten, Michigan Wolverines as of the time of this recording. But before we jump into the interview, I just want to say, if you're watching this and saying, yeah, I like this Castellani guy and I like his content, I wish there was a way to combine the two. You can. CastellaniContent.com. There you will find everything that your heart desires in terms of the content that we create. And we're pumping stuff out, man. We got interviews going. We got vlogs going. Austin and I are going to try to be down in Detroit on Saturday to do some stuff for the Lions game. You know, we're not financials aren't quite there. I mean, I'm not dishing out $5,000 for playoff tickets, at least not this week. But we got to do something. I mean, this is potentially a once in a lifetime thing, and we got to get the pulse of Detroit in there, so to speak. So really looking forward to that. We are continuing to try really hard. Go to CastellaniContent.com. You'll find the links to all the stuff that we post there. And if you want to just follow along with Chris and company, you can find this on YouTube. You can find this on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. Rate us, like us, review us. Let us know what you think of the show as we continue to make stuff and try to put our best foot forward as we inch close to baseball season, we inch close to March Madness. We are starting to, and thank God for the basketball programs in this state, starting to get out of what is not always the best period of time for sports, where like football's kind of nearing its end. But it's where, dude, if you don't have a good basketball program, like it's rough. And thankfully this year we got two really good basketball programs, so no problem with that. And a piece of that basketball program is Jace Howard. Really excited to talk to him. Let's jump right ahead to the interview. All right, Chris and company rolls on with our first official guest from the Michigan basketball team to jump on the program. As of the time of this I'm going to say 5-0. I don't want to jinx it because this is going to be uploaded after a game day. So like then I look like, but as of the time of this recording, the 5-0 in the Big Ten, undefeated Michigan Wolverines, 5-year player, Jace Howard joins the program. Jace, thanks for doing this. And again, like I said, appreciate you doing this on a game day. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Obviously in Minnesota right now, getting ready to take on the Gophers. Good team, and they're hungry for a win. So we're ultra locked in. Coach and his staff has us prepared, and now we're just excited to go do it.
Do you? Because we talked about this with Steven. There's a lot. Do you like playing at the barn?
Yeah, it's honestly one of our teammates, I won't say who, is like, bro, this place is like weird. I was like, I actually like it. Like I'm 1-1 there. So my freshman year, we were I don't want to jinx us, but like we were undefeated,
Yeah.
come off a big win and then went to Minnesota and lost. And then 2 years later we came and won. So this place is tricky and this team is cool. But I mean, besides that, the barn is a really cool environment. I think Minneapolis and where the campus is right outside the city is pretty cool, and it's always like a place that you're gonna remember playing at.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like it's kind of one of one when people talk about it. It's
Yeah,
not a whole lot of other venues that you can compare it to. I think about
100%.
I think about you, man, and kind of the journey that you've been on as a player and as a person. Because to me, and maybe it's different with you, to me, 2021, like that COVID year feels like forever ago. And it's like, I mean, it feels
Does,
like a long
yeah.
time ago. Yeah, I was going to say, does it, because time flies in college and in this stage of your life, does it feel like it's been 5 years almost of a college basketball career, or has it had those checkpoints where you've like, man, this is taking some time?
I think it goes with how time works in general in life. I feel like sometimes it feels like yesterday, and then, like you said, probably most of the time that season feels like a good 4 years ago, which it was, and or 4 to 5 years ago. And I think it's just because like so much has happened. Obviously, like the program from when it was now to, I mean, when it was then to where it is now is completely different in terms of from who's running the helm to just like how Michigan brand is right now as well. And I think it's definitely just makes you, because in the time during that season, you're not really like thinking like, wow, this is going to be
Right.
one of the years that I'm just going to be going back and be like, wow, this is one of the best years that I've had, not only at Michigan, but just in basketball. And
Mhm.
it was obviously like you don't think that at the time, but like looking back at it, you're just so appreciative of it, and you're just like so grateful of the experiences you had, the wins, even the losses that we've had that season, and like it makes you appreciate where you are now because I feel like I'm in a similar situation with a really good team with a chance to win the Big Ten and even go further than that, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, it's so. I'm always curious to ask guys who played, whether it's baseball, basketball, what have you, during the COVID year, because like I'm with you, man. That 21 team was a ton of fun. Like, and obviously you're
Hmm.
without like so many of the things that make college basketball great. There's no fans in the stands, and like you had a month off with the COVID stuff. It's just like
Yeah.
as a player, like experiencing that, with all the kind of extracurriculars that were going on, not just really in your program, but just in the world. Was it like? Did you still feel like you got that full kind of season experience, or did you feel like something was kind of missing out because there were so many things that were kind of taken away from you?
It was kind of reverse. So like you would feel like at the time as a freshman, not knowing what college basketball was like, you'd be like, oh wow, this is so different than the norm and this is so different from what college basketball is supposed to be. But I remember thinking about this a couple years later, like, wow, it wasn't that different. Like
Hmm.
the part that was different was obviously the fans and the environments that you go to. Like obviously we won at Purdue that year, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it would have definitely been a little bit different. I don't know about the outcome, but like just that experience of us coming into Purdue, two really good teams that year, and obviously the Wisconsin one where we went on that crazy run. But honestly, it wasn't that much different. Like I think the biggest part was the fans, but like in terms of the practices and the scheduling, we had more time off because the semester
Yeah.
and started later that in January, whereas like usually it starts in the beginning of January. So it felt like more of like a pro schedule and like pro type of feel during that long break. But after that, it was obviously March Madness. It was pretty similar because like you started to get some fans there. Like there were fans at the games. It was like I want to say like 75% capacity in Indiana at that time, and it was fun. But yeah, like there's some moments where you're like, wow, that would have been fun to have some fans during that season. But obviously, like the season would have been prolonged. You don't know what
Yeah.
it would have been like if um we would have had a longer season with more games and on the road with different environment. Like you just never know. So like it's hard to put it in hypotheticals, but it it definitely had some moments where you're like you're gonna miss, and there's some moments that you're like, wow, like I wonder what could have been on both positive and negative.
Yeah, I feel like the advantage that you guys had, because it's a good point you bring up, like the day-to-day strategy, the X's and O's, I feel like doesn't change a whole lot.
Hmm.
I think that the advantage you guys had to an extent was like, even though it wasn't a full 35, you guys played a solid chunk of your schedule. Like you did play like
Hmm.
full Big Ten season. Whereas like the baseball guys I've interviewed on here, like during that COVID year, like we didn't know we were going to play until like
Yeah.
2 weeks before the season. And then we had to get like our bodies in shape. It just didn't feel like baseball. I feel like you guys had a much more like, set schedule. But even with that said, I mean, Wisconsin legitimately, and I did a podcast about this at the time. The win you guys had at Wisconsin that year, I think, was like one of the most impressive wins I've ever seen in any sport, because you guys had a month off. You go to Kohl
Hmm.
Center, like not fresh at all, and then you came back and won that game in the second half.
Yeah,
That
we
was
were down
wild.
14 first half too, if I
Yeah.
remember that
No,
correctly.
you
Yeah.
guys couldn't hit, and then I remember in the
Yeah.
second half, Livers I remember really came alive, started knocking down some threes, played great defense in the second half of that game
Hell yeah.
as well. Yeah, that was a fun one. Just talking about this year's team now, because it kind of speaks to how much things have changed with, and the portal obviously existed, but now we live. I mean, it's a completely different ballgame now, and I think it's so interesting
Hmm.
where like you've been here for 5 years. And yet, in a lot of ways, guys like you and Will Cheddar were kind of like in the minority coming into this season, in the sense that you guys had so many players that had come in from the portal. So it was like they were coming into a program that you knew, but a lot of these guys were not super familiar with. Was it kind of a strange adjustment period when you have so much of your roster that's not just made up with a new coach, but made up of guys that you hadn't played with before?
Honestly, no. And there's two reasons because of that. I'd probably say one is Coach May, when he first arrived and talked to us, his main thing was like, yo, this is your guys' program. And I'm just the one that's keeping this thing. I'm just like sort of the organizer of it right now. But like this is your guys' program. So basically he was like, yo, like what you guys do, what you guys like the culture here. Like I'm obviously gonna implement his own, but like he wanted to keep Michigan, Michigan. And he wanted to learn what Michigan was. And I thought that was huge for like guys like Namari, Will, myself, and some of the other guys on the team as well. They were so like, okay, let's collab, let's make this very collaborative. And like obviously we're gonna put on our own philosophy and stuff like that. But at the same time, like this is you guys know what this is, and we know how to win, and we're gonna teach you how to win. But at the same time, like this is a handshake. And I thought like his whole staff brings in like he has such an amazing staff where it's like they all have the same goal, but they all bring in different things to achieve that same goal. Like our
Yeah.
strength coach, Coach Matt, he's so innovative in how his approach to just like day-to-day recovery and day-to-day lifts and how those lifts help us recover. And I think that's why like when we go on these West Coast trips, it didn't seem like we missed a beat. And a lot of that is because of him. And then you go to the assistants like Coach Joyner, our defensive coordinator. He came from St. Mary's. He's sort of like a stern guy, but you also know that he's like knows what he's talking about, and he is going to put you in a position to succeed. And then you have Coach Church is more like the cool guy on the roster, and then but he's also going to be like, yo, like we all have the same goal, but we're all bringing in different things. And then the second reason I kind of got into too depth with that
No, no,
one,
you're
but
good. I like it.
yeah, the second reason I think is just because college basketball previous years, I think every year I've been here, it's pretty much been a brand new team, if not a similar team. So like, and I think all the guys that came from other programs have experienced pretty similar things as well. So
Mhm.
like you have to and we're AAU kids. Like we're all AAU kids, and like AAU team besides Will's team, like all of us have basically started brand new teams each year. So we're having to learn that on the fly. And I think we're sort of used to that, to like, yo,
Mhm.
like you have to be able to like put these teams together in a faster sort of sense. And it's great for our minds. And Coach May, he's so intuitive in how like he brings things together. So I think like that combination of us knowing that like, yo, like we're not gonna have 2 years to figure this out. We're gonna have this 3 months plus the two preseason months to really get this thing going. And we bought into that. And I think people, and not saying anybody in this program did, but like one, if there's no resistance to change, then I think, and you have that consistently without the program, then I think you see success like this. And I think we had a whole program that was learning and like with a growth mindset, looking for a change. And we all wanted something different in terms of, like let's get in a new philosophy and let's win. Like we all want to win. And we had the whole program of that. So I think that's why it wasn't as hard for us to adjust with such a new roster.
And I think it was one of the things that I felt comfortable about, like when Coach May was brought in, is it's like I think in terms of player development and just getting the culture to fit, like these guys are going to have no problem buying in. I remember watching
Yeah.
like the Cleveland State game that was the first game of the year, and I'm like, it feels like every one of these guys is comfortable playing with the other. And there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be a learning curve. But in general, like I'm with you. I feel like the adjustment period has not been nearly as steep as it is sometimes with other programs. You talked about how, you guys kind of came up on the AAU circuit. Did you have any prior relationships or know of any of the guys that were coming to Michigan this year?
Yeah, well, I've known Namari that he was here the year before, but
Yeah.
I've known Namari since I was in second grade.
Oh, wow.
He used to go to my dad's camp in Chicago. Like he had a basketball camp, and we met from there on. But Sam and Trey both play with my little brother Jet
Okay.
in the same AAU team and called Night Riders in like Florida. And then I knew Roddy from previous years. I knew Danny very, very well. Danny and I had a really good relationship. So as soon as he hit the portal, I might have been tampering a little bit before he hit the portal, but as soon as he hit the portal, I was right on that. I really wanted him to be a part because I knew, like, obviously, I was around at Michigan for a long time, so I knew that he would fit no matter who was at the helm, and I knew that he's a Michigan man. He had his mom went to Michigan, so I knew Danny really well. I did not know Vlad, but I feel like I've known Vlad for 10 years now. So we have a good relationship. And along, let me think. I didn't know Ruben, but Ruben and I used to live in Houston for a couple years, and then I used to do training down there, and we trained with the same guy, just different times. Like John Lucas,
Yeah.
he's like the yeah. So Ruben, but yeah. Besides that, no. But I mean, oh, Pippen. I've known Pippen since
Yeah.
2010. Yeah, yeah. He's family friends, and he's I've seen him grow up, but I knew his older brother a lot better, but because he was. I mean, back then, 4 years isn't that much, but like 4 years back then is a lot. So like I remember him when he was like running around the house with like a fire truck. But
Wow.
yeah, yeah. So to answer your question, damn, I guess I did know a lot of them before.
Yeah, oh no, that's good. And one question I've been asking this on pods for a minute, and maybe you can give me like a sort of an answer. I'd like to have this guy on the show at some point, but like Danny Wolf to me is like an NBA caliber talent. I mean, the guy's are ridiculous. He's got incredible court vision. He can shoot. He can create off the dribble. Like how did he get his start? How did people miss out on him? Because like he gets to Yale, they win a NCAA tournament game at Yale. They go on a nice little run. Like, how does a guy of that caliber get overlooked? Because to me, like, I mean, that's a guy you bring into your program from day one.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to give a lot of that credit to Danny
Yeah.
because obviously at that point, like he wasn't. I'm assuming when he's coming out of college. So I remember we recruited him when he came to a couple of our practices when he was coming out of high school. And I remember at that time, unfortunately, there was like a scholarship. Like we were
Mhm.
held up on scholarships, but we were like, yo, wait, it was the portal. So we're like, some dudes are probably going to transfer. But he wanted to do his own thing at Yale in terms of like, yo, it's hard to pass up Yale and to like a guaranteed position. And it's the Yale education is obviously it's probably a little I don't want to say this and get in trouble, but it's probably a little bit better than Michigan's.
Oh, it's an Ivy League
So
school. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. You got to be. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean it's that and I think he knew that it was best for him. But I
Mhm.
mean in his own like he knew he wasn't a finished product when he was
Mhm.
coming out of high school and he worked at it. He got better every year. And I think I don't even think it was every year. I think month by month, he got so much better. And it was like obviously he transformed his body these past 2 years, even this past 6 months with Coach Aldred, and he locked in and he knew that he saw the vision when not a lot of people did, and he was able to put his mind to it and excel. And now that's why what you're seeing right now is like a baby Jokic that's probably a little bit
Yeah.
quicker than Jokic.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think, and obviously he's an NBA talent. If you watch a game, you already see it. So I just got to give him that credit.
It's why I like the portal in the sense that like you bring
Mhm.
up these guys aren't even close to finished products coming out of high school. They're definitely not even finished products, from year to year in college. It's like the way a guy like that grows, it's like I think it just makes sense for him to find a situation like a Michigan where he can go to a bigger program and get more exposure. I do want to continue asking about this team, but I want to just go back a little bit over the last few years here and talk about kind of the end of. And I don't want to put you on any spot here, trust me, because I like to play with it. But just kind of the very end of your father's tenure
Mhm.
at Michigan. I'm curious because we hear about things, from the media, and we hear and we take them in as fans. But I'm just a little bit. I want to know about the behind the scenes, so to speak. What was the conversation like when your father found out that he was no longer the coach of Michigan?
I remember what was it? I want to say it was a Friday, maybe. I did just got out of class. I had and I remember he called me and Jet right away. He was like, "Yeah, so such and such. I'm no longer gonna be back in Michigan, and I really appreciated coaching you guys and the rest." He wasn't talking to the team; it was just me and my brother at the
Mhm.
time. But I really appreciated you guys giving me this opportunity to be a part of something so special that was Michigan. And then obviously we were taken back, but from how our season went with 8 wins, it
Mhm.
wasn't like you didn't ex at least think that it was a possibility. So I wouldn't say I was completely thrown off by it, but it was sad in just the sense of just like the memories that you made, and then obviously like there was a lot of things that like that you don't want to like
Yeah.
think about when you look back at it, but like there was also a lot of positives, and like you said, like it's hard to see it from the outside, but I remember like what was really moving was our exit meeting with him, right? Like I think it was the next day he all met with us, and the emotion that we all had was like pretty genuine. And I thought it was like even the guys that were here 1 year, like with um George Washington, Harrison, and Olivier, who was like so adamant on just like, yo, this like you've believed in me when not a lot of guys did, and like you gave me the keys when a lot of other programs were hesitant to do that. And I thought it was really cool just to see, like, like obviously it's hard to end anything on a positive tenure in terms of coaching, unless you're one of like
Yeah.
unless
Right.
like coach Izzo, he's probably gonna have an exception to that with
Yeah.
how his season's looking. But yeah, I'd probably say that it was just cool to see the impact that he had on a lot of guys, and how appreciative they were, and how like even the support staff, like the managers were, they all were like rallying behind just those couple days. They're rallying behind them in terms like the people that you don't see, like Lisa Nicholson, like and all those. That was the cool part. And it was like, what, like obviously things come to an end, but like you just try to take the positive out of it. But yeah, during it was an emotional week, but obviously after that, you just had to realize that like, yo, maybe this is for the better, and everybody else can move on to the next chapter of their lives. Michigan can move on to the next chapter of their thing, which is obviously something that's really good right now.
Yeah.
So, and then my dad, he's happy back in the NBA, and then you got a lot of guys that either chose to stay, or the guys that chose to go on, like obviously are doing pretty well for themselves. Terrace is having a good career right now at UConn, and T Will was until he got hurt. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was bittersweet, but it's you just have to focus on the positive, I feel like, in that sense.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it was strange because just so many different stories come out, but I'm just, as somebody who was in the, kind of in the war room, so to speak, for those several seasons, like, was there a moment where you feel like just as a tenure, things were starting to go maybe a little bit sideways, or just as a player, can you not really view things through that lens? You just got to focus on the day to day.
I mean, I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that there was like a moment, but it wasn't until the end, honestly. It was obviously the whole Sandman thing, and was like, okay, this is not looking good in terms of just like the image.
Yeah.
And obviously it was portrayed differently than it was. Like Sandman and I, like honestly have like such a good relationship from especially before. Like we were so like he was one of the guys that helped me gain 20 pounds of muscle from year one to year two. And obviously there were some things there, but from the whole thing, I don't it was honestly, I remember Namari Burnett, one of his things that he said was like, yo, this is gotta be, I don't know what our record was at the time. I think it was like 8 and 6, 8 and 17. I don't know. But
Mhm.
he was like, man, this got to be the most like fun 8 and 17, or like together unit
Hmm.
of an 8 and 17 team that I've ever been a part of. Obviously, like saying he's probably hasn't been a part of many of them, but like in terms of like if you were in the facility, you would have never really known what it was. Like everybody always talks about like, yo, like even though shit hit the fan, and we were struggling, I had a really good time, and I really appreciated my time there, and I wouldn't trade it. Like one Olivier, I remember I was so shocked to him say this after the season. He was like, "Yo, like I know a lot of you guys probably think like I regret coming here, but he was like, f that. Like I'm so glad I made this decision, and I'm so glad I was." In the foxhole with you guys from day out, day in and day out. And I was like, well, I didn't expect him to say that, because he was obviously such a like it any human would be like, yo, like during a situation like that, I wish I was somewhere else, or at least thinking
Yeah.
about it. But for him to say that, I thought it was so huge. And then obviously all the former players like Franz and Isaiah and Eli. I remember Eli was saying like, yo, like he told me, he's like, yeah, I was transferring until that season when your dad came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, so, and he changed my whole career in terms of how Michigan, because if like playing well at Michigan is pretty fun, and like in terms of like what that does for you, and whereas if like you're anywhere else. So I mean, yeah, it was there was a lot of things, but I think I remember I think I was watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary the other day, the Enigma one, and I
Mhm.
remember something that he said stuck with like how I viewed that our like that tenure was like, yo, like always the stories that are going to grab people's attention may
Right.
not be the ones that are true,
Mhm.
but like, yo, that's the one that's probably going to get the most like publicity or most attention. But like the truth, even if it's not true, it won't essentially, what's the word? Like, even if it's not true, it won't, like, sometimes that might not get what the, 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 the false narrative would be. But like at the
Yeah.
same time, like, all that really matters is like people came out with some sort of positive outlook and takeaway from that, and obviously now everything's working well. Like I'm on a 5-0 team in the Big Ten with I don't want to record watch, but
We'll, we'll,
13-3.
we'll edit it. We'll edit it out if we lose tonight.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
please. I don't want to be the one that gets in
No,
trouble for the jinx.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it's
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's that's really interesting insight, man. Because I think that, and I've talked to media members about this in the past, where like when a team is struggling the way that you guys were, it's easy for the stories to just unravel of the constant negativity, in the way that like when a team is doing really well, it's easy for all these great stories of everyone's happy and smiling, and all these
Mhm.
wonderful success stories to come out. So I was gonna kind of you already alluded to it a little bit, but like during that run, I was going to ask, like, what do you feel like people kind of got wrong about it? And it seems like you kind of already answered it, in the sense that, it didn't seem like it was a lost locker room. Like the results may not
No.
have been there, but there wasn't a loss of connection in terms of how the players felt and how the coaches felt.
Yeah, there definitely wasn't a lost locker room, and I think that it was like Namari said, it was probably super strong for what our circumstances were. But what was the first part of that
Well, no, it
question?
was
Sorry.
just, I was just going to ask like what people had gotten wrong
Oh,
about that
y-
time. You already kind of answered it.
yeah, I just probably say just like the the narrative that like everything was like just so toxic in there, and it's like obviously there was one moment where two guys just had to get into a room and talk. And
Mhm.
that's the only thing that probably wasn't positive, honestly, throughout the whole season, and besides the losses, of
Mhm.
course. But but I'd probably say that. But besides that, like everybody was super transparent, like from anywhere. Like I think Chris. Our trainer Chris and I probably have the closest relationship that I have with somebody in the program. Like his son is my guy, my godson in a way.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, yeah. So and but nobody knows that. And like it's not my job to tell anybody that, because like at the end of the day, I'm brought here to help us win, and whatever my role is going to be for that, I have to fully commit to. And like my job, whenever I have media availability, I'm going to give them like what the truth is, but also like I'm not going to go out of my way to like go and explain something that's from the focus. And usually our focus is the next game. And like right now, my focus is Minnesota and how I could help these guys like prepare for that. And I think that it's been like that with my pops, and then obviously with Coach May. I think Coach May, and I've known Coach May. He was my first coach to Coach Keem on our staff here when at FAU. He was the first coach to offer me. So
Oh, wow.
like, yeah, 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 nobody knows that. So because I grew up in Miami and he was at FAU, and so that stuff. But yeah, like I think it's just like doing the next best thing. And our next best thing at that moment was going playing Wisconsin at home or playing Purdue at home, and like
Yeah.
now it's Minnesota, and I know who we have on Sunday, but I that's not important right now. And but yeah, to answer your question in the short, I just think it was like the the false narrative of just everything wasn't essentially like everything was toxic, and
Yeah,
it really wasn't. Like everybody had a great time, and I really appreciate, and this is from my perspective, so
of course.
I
Yeah.
don't want to be speaking for anybody else, but from for everybody I've talked to, that was pretty much how they felt.
As a son, does it become difficult, or did it become difficult at points not to speak up about some of the, potential false narratives that were being thrown out around that tenure, and especially your dad as a coach?
I'd probably say not really because I've always going into it, I've talked to a lot of other coaches' sons in terms of the
Yeah.
McCaffreys and Jaden Hardaway, who I grew up with, who's played for his dad Penny at Memphis. And their main thing was just like, yo, like what's gonna help you the most and help you as a player and a person is being a player and like keeping that player thing first. And obviously, like, and you would try to stay up. Like, I love watching your breakdowns after the game because I feel like they're really fair.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, yeah. So like, obviously, like, I want to be like, but besides that, I try to stay off social media in terms of like, and I think that's okay, and I think that's healthy because, like, honestly, that's not in my control, and that's not what I really should be worried about. So, I mean, obviously, when you people come up to you and talk to you about it, like you would be like, oh, that like that's the narrative, or like
Mhm.
that's what you think. But like you got to respect it, and you got to
Mhm.
respect people's opinions because everybody's entitled to their own. And but at the same time, like I knew that that wasn't my place or my job to do that, and my job was to be the captain these previous 2 years, and I just wanted to, so I wanted to help my team and help them in the ways that I could. So I didn't feel like that was my place.
Do you think that your dad wants to be a head coach again?
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think he probably will in the
Yeah.
NBA. So it's but I know he for saying that I know he is very focused on what he's doing right now in terms of just being like an assistant coach and learning. Because one thing about him, he really wants to learn and he wants to get better because he knows like in order to like come in the NBA that he was in 5 or 6 years ago is completely different from the NBA that's now. So like he knows that he has to like basically learn a whole new league again. So he wants to answer your question, but he is very, I wouldn't say content, but happy and understanding of like that his job right now is not that.
Yeah, and the thing that
Yeah.
like was brought up when he arrived here, and it's just the truth is like it was his first head coaching job. So like
Yeah.
there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be learning experiences that you're going to go through that are going to make you a better coach, better person, what have you. You've been and you graduated from U of M, which congratulations, man. That's
I
obviously
appreciate that. Thank you.
amazing accomplishment. Yeah, of course. And so you'd had the 4 year experience. Was there any consideration on your part of not coming back for that final season?
Um, Obviously, yeah, there definitely was. But as soon as Coach May got the job, he texted me an hour later,
Wow.
and I already knew him before. And to text me an hour later after like it was announced, I thought was huge for me, and I thought it just showed a lot about who he was as a person, and just like, and it's not just because it's like I'm the who I was, but like just because like he cared about the players that were there at that time and cared about like them feeling included. And I thought that was huge. And that just shows you the person that he is. Like he's a great coach and he's a very, and what I feel like what makes him a great coach is him caring about the people in his program and not just the players, not just the coaches, but the managers, the support staff, the trainers, the strength coach. Like I think he went and once his thing is like people strive in comfortability and not like all right we're going to have a comfortable practice we're going to do all the things that's like not hard but in terms of like social comfortability and
Yeah.
once you're comfortable socially you're going to be able to do your job at an even better rate and our my job versus this trainer's job is completely different but at the same time it's all to get the same common goal and I think him being the person that he is was made it a lot easier for me in my decision. And I know this is true for the other guys like Namari, Will, and Harrison and Ian as well. To for them to come back because of the person that he was and how personable he was, and him not only wanting to talk to us but talk to Jalen and Olivier and the other guy and Trey and even Doug at the time, like just to let them know that like, yo, like this isn't going to be a us versus you guys thing. This is we're all one, and that just shows you the person he is, and that just shows. I mean, he's going to be successful, and there's going to be some NBA teams trying to take him from us too, and or but like it's going to be a fun tenure for him.
Yeah, and I could tell, and I always make this joke, but like I barely knew Florida Atlantic had a program. To take them to a Final Four. Like, you got to know what you're doing, man. You got to be able to run a
100%.
program. You got to know how to develop talent. So like I love the hire when it happened. Obviously, I think the job he's done at the portal has been incredible. And it's like you guys have a true identity, offensively and just as a team. It really is fun to watch. And even before the season, I had a few people just that I knew in the media who'd been to practice being like, I think this team's probably going to be a lot more fun than people let on. Like, there's some good
I was
players.
shocked preseason when we didn't, and they didn't expect us. Like, I just thought our pieces alone would have given us a little bit more attention,
Yeah.
but I'm glad it didn't because it made us more hungry and it like made us who we are today.
Well, it is, and you brought it up earlier. It's similar to the COVID year team, where like that team, you guys had to pivot and get two guys in the portal with Chaundi and Mike Smith. I mean, those guys were excellent players. Like, Chaundi was a beast, and I don't think at the time people really knew how good they were. So when you have a team made up of portal guys, it's kind of hard to judge like how they're going to gel. But yeah, I mean, I knew pretty early on, like, okay, yeah, you guys definitely got some pieces. What's in terms of just style or philosophy, the biggest difference that you see between the way that your father went about it versus the way that Dusty goes about things?
They have both similarities and differences in their philosophy, but I probably see the biggest difference is just our prioritization of the three ball and how and our analytic approach. Like, I think we have some analytic guys that come in and talk to us about like where we're at in terms of like efficiency, the shots that we want to take versus the shots that we don't want to take. What is we talk about like the highest points per possession that we could get. So if it's like a mid-range contested two versus a layup or a three, the points per possession is going to be a lot higher for the threes or the two or the at the rim twos versus like the contested twos. And it's and with my dad, it was more okay, open shots, take them and shoot them with confidence. And with that, like, and utilizing the ball screen. So like utilize and playing, we ran the triangle with my dad essentially. So we ran the triangle offense and you would play, it's hard to explain on video, but you would playing off of two others at the same every time. So if you're in the corner, you're playing off the two guys next to you, you're going to flare. And honestly, it's similar in that sense, but the cutting is a lot different. What Coach May really emphasizes the cutting and how cutting, and my dad did it as well, but they did it different ways. So it was there. But I probably say that the analytical approach is definitely the biggest difference. And I know the guys that I don't want to speak too much, but I know the guys that help us also help Duke and another team. So it's not, they know what they're doing. So
Yeah.
it's and it's another top team as well. But yeah, I think that approach and having purpose behind what could look crazy with as many threes we take, but I think that there's a lot of purpose behind it, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I'm so curious about this because I talk about it, and it's been a hotly contested thing in baseball for 20 years, analytics, and just like how important they are to the game and how much attention people pay to them. And I go back and forth baseball. I go back and forth with football about it. Like, does there come a point? And maybe the coaching staff, I'm sure, does a good job of kind of easing you guys into it. But does there come a point in which there's too much data there where it almost becomes like it gets in the way of the ability to kind of play the game naturally, or do you feel like there's a good balance to it currently?
I think there is, but not here.
Yeah,
I think Coach May does a very good job of keeping the complicated simple. And I think he knows we're all college kids at the same time. So not to like force feed us all this analytical data. And just like I mean, and that even goes with film and stuff like that as well. Like, he knows exactly what we need, and overkill is not a good thing.
right.
So and he's mastered that. You could tell he's been around the college game and been around college guys for such a long time that he knows what like our brain capacity is to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I think it is, but I don't think it is here, and because of how the coaches know like how college kids are, essentially simple as that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's always fascinating to me, and I like asking athletes about that because there's certain, and I go back to baseball where like there's certain guys who love having access to the data and hot zones
Mhm.
and like and what type of pitch data a guy has and what type of batted ball data there has. And there's some guys that say, dude, I just want to step in the box and hit. Like there is varying philosophies, I think across all sports, and I think it's important, like you mentioned, to not overcomplicated. I think especially at the college game. In terms of your personal journey here, like you said, look, this is your fifth year. You've obviously already graduated. Have you kind of set a goal or a plan of what you want things to look like for you after Michigan?
Yeah, I know, especially after I finished playing, I'd probably say I've been talking to a lot of GMs. I won't say who, but like in the NBA and a lot of agents, and it's either if I'm gonna go the basketball route, like post like playing basketball, it'll be either the front office or the agent side, and I have some good things set up with that, and I'm honestly really grateful for that, and a lot of that is because of Michigan and because of like the opportunities that I've been given here, which I think is like our secret sauce to recruiting. It's
Mhm.
like, like besides like having fun winning games here, like you're gonna be set up after this. And if it's not with basketball, it'd probably be I'm getting my master's in real estate right now. So it'd probably
Oh
be in
wow.
some real estate development or yeah, something within there. There's a lot of outlets in that, but it'll probably be real estate development in either New York or LA, along with, and the same with the front office or the agency would probably New York or LA as well. But yeah, so that'll be have some calls actually this week to about both. So I still have I still have to make a decision about that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Were you sports management major?
No, I was sociology, law, justice, and
Okay.
social change. And then I took some SM sports management classes. I took some classes at Ross. And now I'm real estate development. So mine was sort of like a pre-law major. And just in case I wanted to do the outlet for law school, but it was, I mean, obviously it's hard with basketball, but like if it's something that I wanted to leave the door open for after basketball, if I wanted study for the LSAT and apply to law school to keep that door open.
That's well, good for you, man. That's really impressive. Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah. A couple more here. One, just kind of around the league, college basketball questions here. But we talked about the
Mhm.
barn earlier. I asked Steven Izzo this question last week, but outside of your home environment, which obviously you have the benefit of having be your main base, what is I'm not gonna say toughest. What's your favorite Big Ten environment on the road to go play in?
I have two.
Okay.
I think about because me and my some of my teammates talk about this very often. So I genuinely have two. Number one is I mean 1A is Michigan State.
Yeah.
Michigan State, I love how enthusiastic and how loud their fans are. It's next to none. And their whole student section for like elite, I think it's like besides one little section that goes to family and recruits,
Yeah, it's all the way
the
around.
whole lower level is students.
Yeah.
So like you hear that the whole time, and
Mhm.
they making sure you hear them too. So it's that environment. It's really cool. They always go all white for our game, and it makes you really appreciate being at Michigan and being a part of the Big Ten and being in that environment. And like obviously there it's it like I like this though growing up. Like I like Michigan State growing up. Like
Me too, man. Yeah.
they were a fun team to watch. Like I'm not gonna like obviously I was a
Yeah.
Michigan guy, but they were a fun team to watch. But 1B is Indiana.
Mhm.
I think Assembly Hall is probably the coolest in terms of looking. And I just feel like when you're there, I feel like basketball started there. Obviously, it's
Mhm.
like that's sort of like more Kansas or Massachusetts with Naismith, but like Indiana, it's insane. Like
Yeah.
I love how Assembly is. I love how it's so different from the rest of the environments. A lot of people like Mackey, but I just think Michigan State and Indiana, especially like how Indiana goes down, it's literally an auditorium,
Mhm.
and then you have the I want to say five national championship banners, is it?
Yeah, close
That
to
are
it.
like
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that all like right there, and then like the court is really it's like a bowl at the bottom, and it's It's pretty damn cool. I can't even lie. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. Never been to Breslin
Hmm.
obviously many times, and you're right. The environment there is crazy, and it gets about as loud as any environment in the country, not just
Yeah,
the Big Ten.
it's the loudest in the Big Ten for
It's
my
gotta
perspective.
be right. Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I would
yeah.
imagine. Yeah,
Mackey's up there in terms of it, but yeah, nah. Michigan for us at least, like it's Michigan State.
yeah. Well, yeah. That's part of it. But no, I've
Yeah,
been there for Michigan games and for non-Michigan games. It gets crazy, and I've one that I've heard good things about. Maybe not necessarily as like a it's tough to go there and win. But I like Steven Izzo talked, but he really liked Nebraska. I've heard a lot of people say that Nebraska's facility is quite nice. I don't know if it gets super loud, and maybe it's just because they're like kind of new to the Big Ten. But yeah, I know you guys. There's a few. I mean, you guys just played.
Nebraska's dope.
Yeah, you guys just played UCLA and USC. You haven't. Well, actually, you did because it was a non-conference game. You've played on the Oregon Swamp Court.
Oregon's crazy.
I've heard it's pretty wild. Yeah.
Oregon, I try to forget that game because that was probably one of the most heartbreaking losses I've ever had.
Yeah.
But Oregon's really dope. I've always like as a kid, everybody loves Oregon in terms of
Yeah.
like the gear and stuff like that, and so that was really cool. UCLA was next to none. It was honestly UCLA's 1C. If we're going to go that, they're probably not. They weren't as loud, but like just Pauley Pavilion and no, it was. I'm not sure how old that arena is, but obviously it's historic. But it looked brand new, which is
Yeah.
really cool. And that was really cool. Nebraska does get loud. It gets really loud. I missed the game there last year, but I played there once with fans and once without fans on
Mhm.
Christmas,
Yeah, I remember.
which was it was good. They weren't as good back then, but like the game that I missed, I heard was really loud. Rutgers needs their credit. Rutgers is
Yeah.
rowdy. I mean, I don't want to curse on here, but
No,
it's
you can. It's
rowdy.
fun. Yeah.
It's rowdy as shit in there. But yeah, they that it's like it's similar to the barn in terms of how it's like a trapezoid
Yeah.
for Rutgers, and it's loud, and you got all those like, and I think they serve alcohol there too. So those loud drunk New Jerseyans, they're in there like letting you. I remember
Yeah.
one time Isaiah Pacheco was sitting courtside there, like it. That place is that there's a reason that like that's a tricky place for a lot of Big
Mhm.
Ten teams to play. I remember Eric Daly is a good friend of mine, and he's on UCLA. He played them a couple days ago. I was like, yo, like don't let that environment fool you, or like Rutgers fool you. That play, you got to be locked in when you go there. So yeah, nah, Rutgers is. I love these conversations, but yeah, Rutgers
Yeah.
is a very it's definitely B.
Well, we're going to continue with a similar theme here, and you're welcome to kind
All
of
right.
think out loud because there's multiple answers. Your perspective, all time starting five in Michigan, all time,
Oh,
any era. We can mix it up. You want to have two guards, you want to have two forwards, two big men. That's fine. Just like the five that if you were fielding an all time Michigan basketball team, you would put in that starting rotation.
I know what my front court is, but I'll get to that at the second part.
Okay.
But I'll probably say Trey Burke at the one. That's
Yep.
that's
Same.
hard to
I agree.
yeah, yeah. Trey Burke at the one. I go. I remember Sandman and I had a conversation about this. My front, since I can't get the wings right now, my front court would be Chris Webber and Hunter. I
Yeah.
think them two together, especially if you're going regardless of errors. Like I'm trying to make a team that's very can play in every era. So I'm
Mhm.
going to go Trey Burke, C Webb at the 4, Hunter at the 5. Oh, this is where it gets really tough. I mean, tough. I'll probably go. I want to get some good shooting in there, obviously. So I'm
There,
gonna
there's
go my man's go, continue.
no. I said there's a collection of Michigan fans who are screaming one name right now for the shooter.
I I'm gonna go I'm gonna go Stu Douglas at the 2. I'm going Stu Douglas at the 2, and then I'm gonna go Tim Hardaway Jr. at the 3.
Nice. And we get with
And
Glenn Wright.
sorry.
Go ahead.
That's who it was. That's who it was. That's
Yeah.
who it was. Okay. All right. Can I start over? Can I
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
over?
No. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Trey Burke, Jalen Rose. No, Trey Burke. Trey Burke at my 1,
Mhm.
Glenn Rice at my 3,
Yeah.
C Webb at my 4, Hunter at my 5, and I'm gonna go. I'm between Jalen Rose and Tim Hardaway Jr.
Hardaway could strap, man. He could really
That's what I'm
shoot.
saying. I need a shoot. I need a
Yeah,
shooter too.
if I'm choosing between those two, I'm going Hardaway because he could be streaky, but when he was hot, man.
Yeah, my uncle's gonna kill me, but I'm gonna tell him. I'm going Hardaway too. I'm
No,
going. Yeah,
hey,
yeah,
I get it. No, he was an excellent player. He's had a great NBA career too, man. Good to see him in Detroit as well.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
100%.
look, man. Honestly, and I mean this. I say this about a lot of my guests, but like I can't imagine it's been super easy with kind of some of the tumultuous times over the last several years. And yet I feel it genuinely, man. You're one of my favorite guests, but you're one of my favorite people to follow just because I think that you've handled yourself incredibly well through this entire
I
thing.
appreciate that, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, that's a testament to you. It's a testament to your family. And so it was obviously disappointing to see the way that certain things went over the last several years, but I've always rooted for you. And I'd love to see you guys make a run this year as things go up. But like truly, whatever you choose to do next, like you're going to be really successful at it, man. Like you're genuinely a very impressive guy to talk to.
I appreciate that, Chris.
I claim to be somebody who talks for a living, and yet in terms of where I was at around your age, like it's a night and day difference, man. You're in a very good spot.
No, give yourself some credit, man. I've been watching. My first video that I watched was 2019 after Wisconsin when we lost.
Yeah. We gave up like a 10-0 run to end that game, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm talking. This is football.
Oh boy, yeah. When I was at a restaurant with Anthony. Yeah, when it was like 37-10 or something.
Yeah, it's where they almost decapitated McCaffrey on that. Yeah, bro. Like I've been a Michigan fan forever, so like, I remember that, and I was like, yo, this guy's like, even though like it was not like a video, like a happy video, like for all, like we were not all like upset, but I was like, yo, this guy's dope. And then I followed you, and then I remember I was so happy for you when like you got the Barstool job, and I just thought like everything that and obviously like you moved on from that, but like I just it's a testament to who you are, and I think like a lot of us we respect you, we appreciate you from Michigan, so like you just talking about that, and you. I feel like you're an OG, and you're like you're a young OG. I'm not trying to call you old or anything, but
I feel old, but thank you, man.
no, man. I mean, you're we really appreciate you, and I feel like your perspective, it obviously could be harsh, but like I think it's real, and we appreciate the realness from you.
The one thing, and I'll say this to my Michigan people, and I say it to my Tigers people, is whatever negativity I bring, if you bring good things into my life,
No, 100%.
Tenfold I will be. I mean, you watch the videos after like the Michigan national championship run a year ago, or like the Tigers playoff run, like when you guys bring me joy, I'm going to love you. And I'm always going to root for you guys. Like this is my team. And so I'm, very excited to see.
And we know that, bro.
Of course. Yeah. And so, I mean, we'll know by the time this is uploaded, but go beat Minnesota, buddy. And we'll be back in touch. Maybe we'll have you on for the Final Four when you guys are in it. Who knows?
Yes, sir. Knock on wood, man. Please. That's all I need it.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate you, Chris. Thank you. Go Blue.
Yep. I'm not just saying this because the guy's clearly a fan of my videos, and he went out of his way to be overly kind to me there. It's one of my favorite interviews that we've ever done. Jace Howard is one of my favorite guests in Chris and Company. I could say that we just got done recording. I can say that with confidence. I've always liked him and I knew he'd be good, but like there's a few guys who are like this now. Cause now that I'm almost 30 and I can interview guys who are of college age or younger than me, it is remarkable how impressive some of them are. And Jace, that was, I don't know. I thought that was great. And I really am excited beyond what basketball, what he chooses to kind of do going forward, man, because he's a really sharp guy, really unique, insightful, wise beyond his years takes about some of the stuff that has gone on within the program. I did go back and I was looking at parts of the interview. It seems like the audio is going to be great. If his video doesn't come in fantastic, maybe Austin and I can work on something, but ultimately most people listen to this in audio format anyway, and it didn't seem like there was any problem. Either way, he did us a huge favor by being on the show, and I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this, and hopefully you can listen to it with the fresh taste of a Michigan victory against Minnesota in our mouths afterwards. All right. I probably shouldn't be playing favorites by saying that's one of my favorite guests, but I don't know. I wear this stuff on my sleeve. Jace was fantastic. All right. If you want to get more content and more stuff that we do, go to castellanicontent.com. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can. That's at Castellani2014. We're continuing to grow here, and we're continuing to develop our platform, and you know, I enjoy doing this, or else I wouldn't be doing it. You know, like I can't wait to go back and listen to that full interview. I'm very proud of what we're creating and the way that we're growing, and Austin's a huge part of that. I know I say all the time, stay with us, stay with us, stay with us, but like I really do mean it, man. Like I think that some good things are happening, and sometimes I get my own way with that. But we're continuing to grow and develop and put out stuff that hopefully you guys are responsive to. So CastellaniContent.com, at Castellani2014 on Twitter. We're growing on TikTok. I don't know if TikTok's going to get banned. That's been a thing apparently. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Right now, we just got to live in the moment. But I appreciate you guys to death. I can't wait for you guys to listen to this. We will be back with more content coming up this weekend, next week. You got to keep the geese flowing, and that's what we're doing. Probably a weird way to put it. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.